Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's ChamberLIVE Sales Club, brought to you by East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce and Sales Geek. I'm Debbie Dawson. The views expressed in this webinar do not necessarily represent the views of East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce, and all facts were believed to be correct at the time of recording on the 23rd of September 2020. Now well into its second year, Sales Club is a quarterly forum for Lancashire's sales professionals to meet, learn, share best practice and network together. Today we're focusing on inbound leads that are often thought of as the holy grail for salespeople. And who better than Sales Geek to tell us about it, as through building fans and followers, they've been able to generate an incredible 280% growth. Let's find out how they've done it. Please welcome Matt Simmons.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Debbie, for the lovely introduction. I am Matt Simmons from Sales Geek, and yes, as she has already said, we're running these chamber events in a different format. We're using a different piece of software, so rather than us being able to see you, there's a little chat box right at the bottom of your screen that you're watching this on. Let me know, can you hear me? Is everything going well? Yeah, I can see all your chats live, so if anyone, I can see Tony, Una, I can see Gareth. Hi everyone, it's now brilliant. So yeah, make sure you can all hear me and see me. So what I'm going to be doing over this session, guys, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions from you, and I'm going to be talking around. So as Debbie has lovingly given me the introduction, so we at Sales Geek have used building an online tribe and using social media to grow our business by 280% so far. And we've done this mainly through the process of what I'm calling building an online tribe. And so yeah, so we've used social media to build this online tribe. And the reason why I'm going through this session is because when it comes to leads, a lot of salespeople have the approach that they need to be a hunter and they need to go out and find leads and close deals, and this inevitably puts them on this lovely sales roller coaster where they're riding high, closing deals. They're too busy closing deals to prospect, and then they go down again and there's nothing in the pipeline, and they go on this inevitable sales roller coaster on and on and on and on. And quite frankly, it's leading to a lot of issues in sort of sales mental health, where as a salesperson, if you know you're good at your job, but you have a tough few weeks or a few months, that can really affect you. And so hopefully through this webinar, this Sales Club event, I'm going to show you just briefly how you can look at building an online tribe, ways we can look at our own personal brand, and actually use that tribe to find us leads, so we can go and help more people. Now, just before I'm going to jump up with the actual webinar, put it in the chat. So when it comes to building an online tribe and growing your social media following, what do you struggle with? What do you want me to try and answer by the end of today's session, so I can give you as much value as I possibly can? We'll see if any chats are coming through in a second. Yep. Good. Okay, great. So I'm going to move on, and we'll start with the actual some slides that I'm going to go through now. So you can see I'm in the lovely bottom left corner of your screen now. Oh, sorry, I struggle with content. Right, okay. That's a really good. Really glad you said that. There's a lot of stuff that we can talk around when it comes to creating content, and towards the end of the session, I'm going to be talking around how can we add value, and in that way, adding value is essentially solving problems for people in our network and people we want to have in our tribe. So when it comes to creating content, it's the act of thinking what will people find valuable and putting that out there, but it's also a case of what do you actually want to put out there, because when it comes to building an online tribe and putting content out there, you can't just put content out there for other people. You've got to be happy with it, and you've got to do the content that you're happy with as well. It's not just it's not as simple as just putting content out there that people will comment on or like, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to consistently do that. So building a tribe, building an online tribe. So what we're going to cover in today's session: understand what a tribe actually is, why are tribes important for our success, and how we can identify and attract the right people in our tribe. I'm sure you're all probably in agreement with this. It's not about the number of people in your network and in your tribe. It's how deep those relationships are and how valuable they are to you. Then we're going to look at personal brand. We're going to understand what actual personal brand is, and we're going to look at how I'm going to give you a way that you can actually develop your own personal brand. This is a snapshot taken from one of our online academy courses that I'm going to talk about towards the end of today's session, so you get an idea of what's in our online academy. And finally, we're going to touch on growing tribes, so how you can build relationships within your tribe, how you can add value to the tribe. And then I'm also going to talk for a little bit about the value of deep relationships versus wide relationships. So if anyone does have any questions around what you're seeing on the screen at any point, I will be throwing out some questions to you. But if you want me to expand on anything or go back and touch on something else, again, this chat box right at the bottom of your screen, Put as much as you want in there. The more questions you ask me, the more you're going to get out of today's session. So moving on. And if anyone has seen a piece of Sales Geek content, you will have seen the sales funnel. And we talk a lot around how marketing used to take up this small part of the sales funnel, and then sales was responsible for a huge part of it. And then marketing is now responsible for so much more of that funnel. And sales, even though that sales process is a lot longer now, sales is only really responsible for that bottom end of the funnel. And when it comes to building an online tribe, if we can actually leverage our network and get the right people in our tribe, all that marketing stuff on the side, on your right hand side of your screen now, our tribe can do that for us. So all of a sudden, it's not just our marketing department having to build awareness, interest, consideration, intent into a product. We can get other people in our network doing it for us. People passing us referrals. People waving the flag for us, shouting about how great we are. Because this is the big thing when it comes to salespeople, is when we're on a call with someone or we're in a meeting, of course we're going to say how great we are. We're biased. We're never going to go into a meeting and say, well, we're mediocre or we're average. Well, of course we're going to say we're the best because we stand by our product. But if someone else can actually do that for us, a fan, someone who realistically is a third party who doesn't have any incentive to talk about how great we are, other than being a fan of us or the brand or the product or service, that is so much more valuable than you saying it yourself. And the other thing, again, you'll have seen this geek content before, it's the brain, so I'm going to touch on this in just a minute. There's two parts to the brain. It's our prefrontal cortex and our limbic system. And when we're looking at the brain and it comes to selling, a lot of people sell on prefrontal cortex, which is the logic center of our brains, where facts and figures and long-term thinking lives in our brain. And when it comes to the limbic system, that's our emotional center of the brain. That's the emotional center of the brain, and that is where decisions are actually made in our brain, because we are emotional creatures. If anyone in the chat, let me know if you read it, the book The Chimp Paradox. Absolutely amazing book. Every single buying decision we make is purely emotional. Now when it comes to buying decisions and it being emotional, the other people who live in our limbic system are our friends, our family, people in our tribe, people we share a strong bond with. And this is what we need to be getting people to build with us, and we need to build with other people. So I'm going to touch on survival instinct now when it comes to selling. And we as human beings, we have 3 survival instincts, and these always come into play when we're in a sales conversation and we have perhaps done a cold outreach and picked up the phone and spoken to someone. And the person at the end of that phone is going through either fight, flight or freeze. And the fight is they will push back and ask why you're calling. The flight will be they will give you some very weak excuse and objection to get off the phone and hang up the phone because they don't want to talk to you. And freeze being the fact that they will just not be able to give you any information. They'll be really unhelpful because they don't actually know how to handle this confrontation. I say confrontation, it's a conversation, but they don't know how to handle this conversation. Now, if we take this back to, rather than talking to just a gatekeeper, we're talking to a decision maker, for example, and this person, let's say they're a managing director of a business, and we have been able to either meet them, well, not at a networking event anymore, but more of an online networking event perhaps, or we've been able to get a conversation with them, or possibly like a Zoom call or something like that. At the very start of that call, they will still be going through these 3 survival instincts, only very quickly, but they'll still be going through them. And that's because we haven't got them into our tribe yet. We haven't really warmed them up and built a relationship. And this is why I'm talking about how the importance of building a tribe, because if we can get other people to warm that person up to us, that makes our job so much more easier, and it means we can get going into that sales conversation a lot quicker, because we don't have to spend time building the rapport and warming them up, because other people will have already done that for us. Now, I want to touch on the 4 chemicals in the brain, and there's a course that we run called Emotional Selling that's available on our academy, and we spend quite a lot of time talking about this, and the reason being is there's 4 main chemicals in our brain that we can, as salespeople, we can leverage and take advantage of to win customers over and bring them onto our side, our way of thinking. And there's dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin and serotonin all there, and I'm going to touch on oxytocin here really quickly. And it's the safety of social bonds. And this is the kind of chemical your brain gets flooded with when you're with your friends, your family, you're laughing, you've made a joke and it's landed and everyone's feeling really happy. It also is the same chemical that allows you to open up with someone and have a really deep conversation. If there's something you're struggling with, I know I've had my own struggles in the past, and if I didn't feel comfortable in a situation to tell that person the things that I'm dealing with, I would never ever been able to get these off my chest. And it was oxytocin that's given me that safety to say that, okay, I'm in a safe environment, I can raise these issues that I'm struggling with, and I'm in a safe environment, so I can do that. And when it comes to oxytocin in the sales process, the whole safety of social bonds, it's really important that we're building these strong relationships with our prospects, because all of a sudden, rather than having a sales meeting and you're asking some quite rough questions or quite confrontational questions to really get to the meat of the meat on the bones of and asking what their real issues are, you aren't going to get a true answer until they start to feel oxytocin. Una, yeah, oxytocin, the trust chemical, absolutely spot on. It's the fact that if your prospect is being flooded with oxytocin in a meeting with you, they trust you, so they're going to believe when you're asking them a question, it's coming from a place you're asking it. Know it. So the question is, how do we get people to be flooded with oxytocin? And we're going to show you today. So just to touch on what a network actually is, and we all have a network, but as the definition, this is just Google's definition of a network, it's a group or system of interconnected people or things. And it's a very easy way of looking at it is everyone has a network, and your network are just people you know. And this is why sometimes you were trying to network through people and ask for an introduction to someone, and you might think, well, oh, they're in your network, you're not introduced me to the MD of this business. And there will be a lot of reluctance there, because from the one hand, perhaps you don't have a strong relationship with that person and they're not in your tribe, so they don't feel comfortable referring you on. But the flip side is, that person who you think's in their network, they don't have a strong relationship with. And that's because to get someone into your network, you don't have to have a strong relationship with them. Again, because it's just a group of interconnected people or things. What we actually need is to build a community, or as we like to call it, a tribe. And as you can see on the screen up there, a group of people, the condition of sharing or having certain attitudes and interests in common. And so what we can see from this is having a community means that, as it says there, having things in common, you have a strong bond and a strong relationship with these people. And the question we've got to ask ourselves is, what are we going to have, what attitudes or interests are we going to have in common to start building this tribe, building this community with people in our network? So I've got a question for you now. how tribal are you? And I'm going to throw this out to the chat. And you might be thinking, what do you mean by how tribal am I? And I want us to have a think. Let's have a quick discussion in the chat. How many tribes do you have? Have a think for a second, because there'll be a lot more than you think. You might think that, well, I've got my friends, I've got my family, I've got colleagues, I'm part of a Rotary club or an activity, you know, a sports club. But let's have a think. How many tribes do we actually have? Because we'll have a lot more than we realise. You know, do you play games online? Are you part of a book club? Various things like that. Yeah, someone's dropping in chat, massively tribal. I think that's Jonathan. Yeah, and we know Jonathan is massively tribal. He's got a lot of communities that he's a part of. Our tribe is key, yeah. I'm in a few tribes for my hobby of making my own clothes. That's very interesting, Una. Yeah, so that's a spot on, because you all have that thing in common. And when you're in that tribe, and Una, I can guarantee that you will be able to have a very strong conversation, because again, you've got that oxytocin flooding into your brain, because these people in your hobby groups and things like that, you're all part of this same collective. You're all working towards the same goal. You have these same things in common, and that's what we need to be doing with people in our network. So, simple question of why do we need people in our tribe? Why do we actually need a tribe? Because you might be thinking that, you know what, I'm cold calling and I'm generating my own leads, and that's doing all right for me. But again, as I've already said at the start of today's session, you'll be on this inevitable sales roller coaster where you will be prospecting, going out to the market, and then you'll have that many meetings that you'll be that busy closing people that you won't be doing any of the prospecting. And once you've closed a handful of deals, all of a sudden you're back down here and there's nothing in your pipeline again. So having a tribe, it's valuable. Yeah, you're only as strong as your network, Jonathan. Yes, it's the old adage of your network is your net worth. And if you want to increase your net worth, you've got to have a stronger network, bigger network, and you've also got to have the right people in your network. And this comes down to, is bigger always stronger? And this is something we talk about in our social selling course, and when we touch on, and our building an online tribe course, when we touch on the strength and the size of networks. The All Blacks are arguably one of the strongest tribes and probably one of the most famous tribes in sporting history. And they are without a doubt not the largest tribe in the world when it comes to sporting tribes, but they are without a doubt the strongest, and that's because they've really bought into that definition of what a community is. The act of sharing or having in common an attitude or interest. The All Blacks are big on leaving a legacy. They are big on having and following their training mantra to be the greatest sporting legacy in the world. And every single person who's part of that team, and I don't just mean the players, I mean the coaches, the managers, the trainers, the groundskeepers, people at their clubs, they're all part of this one tribe to leave this massive, incredible sporting legacy. So it's not a case of having the biggest tribe. You know, so if you look at people's LinkedIn connections, and you know, you'll see people on LinkedIn call themselves Lions, LinkedIn Open Networkers, and they'll brag about how they have 10,000 connections. They have so many connections that they can't accept any more people. How strong are those actual connections? Just because they can message someone doesn't mean they actually have any relationship with them. So it's not a case of having the largest network. And in fact, there's only 3 people. Oh, actually, no, we go. So so here we go. So you already know all the people you need to know in order to have the success that you want. You just don't know it yet. And I'll probably add on to that, you just don't know them well enough yet. And that's because chances are people you need to pass you business, to champion your brand, and just to shout about you and bring people to your stall so they can be aware of your business. Again, we're looking at that sales funnel. Awareness is right at the top. Chances are we probably have enough people in our network already. We just don't have a strong enough relationship with them yet. And when it comes to who do we actually need in our tribe, you'll be shocked to find it's only 3 people, or 3 types of people, should I say. It's people who will engage with our business. So people who could buy from us, people who can refer business to us and actually get some direct referrals and warm people up to us. those who will influence those who will engage with our business. And this is a really interesting thing here, is because when I was prepping a course and I was doing a study, and it was a Harvard Business Review case study into the number of people involved in B2B buying decisions.
I didn't get that.
And what I'm going to ask the chat before I continue is, just drop a number in the chat. How many people do you think are involved in a B2B buying process? So how many people at a company are involved in having that conversation internally about what new piece of software, what payroll do they buy, who do they buy the uniforms from, anything like that? How many people do you think are actually involved in that buying process? And again, chat feature right at the bottom. Be really interested to hear what you guys think. Let's quickly see what's jumping. I'll just jump onto the chat real quick. So I'll just drop a message to you all. Right, we've got, yeah, Adam, 10. Anita, 3. Okay, great. Some good answers. 6 from Anissa. Emma, 4. Spot on. Yeah. I think, to be honest, Anissa, you are the closest. It's 6.2. Una, 5. Yeah, it's very close. Yeah, so 6.2 people on average are involved in every single B2B buying decision. So that means all of a sudden the days of speaking to one decision maker have gone. You can't just rely on just having one relationship with one internal champion, that one decision maker who makes the call on your product. Because what's happening, and as the baby boomer generation are sort of growing out of the decision making group, and people like myself, millennials, are coming further up. Gareth, yeah, 6.2. You've either listened to what I've said or you've read the study, but yeah, spot on, 6.2. The thing you've got to understand though is, as millennials are becoming the actual the bulk decision-making group, we work in a collaborative effort. So we are always looking for consensus when it comes to a decision. So when it comes to me buying something for Geek, a lot of what I do, for example, technology, I will research it and I'll also get opinions from it. And you might be thinking, well, you're only spending a few £100s. So imagine if you were selling something that's going to be a few thousand, or a few tens of thousands, or possibly even 100,000. You need to work on who is also going to influence those key decision makers, those key buyers in organizations, because they are the one going in their organization to get feedback and again get consensus on a decision. And finally, supporters. These aren't people who can buy from us, and these aren't people who might not even influence those who buy from us. But what they will be doing is waving the flag, banging your drum, and talking about how great you are. These are people who have well and truly bought into your brand. And I'm going to touch on brand in a moment and how we can build it so we can attract the right people to our audience. Now on here, it's why targeting is so important. And I'm going to quickly just run through this. So if anyone is familiar with Zig Ziglar, we are a big lover of a lot of Zig Ziglar stuff here at Geek. And Zig tells an amazing story about this archer called Adam Hill, I believe his name was. Yes, Adam Hill. And he was a legendary archer who could shoot an apple out of the sky with his bow and arrow. He could split his first arrow with a second. An ultimately amazing archer, a modern day Robin Hood. And Zig Ziglar tells his story about, given you have good eyesight, he could have you hitting the bullseye more consistently. It's Howard Hill. He can have you hitting the bullseye more consistently than Howard Hill, providing Howard Hill was wearing a blindfold and had been spun around a few times. And the key method, the key takeaway from that story is the fact that targeting and knowing what you're going after is so important, because you can't get mad if you haven't hit a goal that you haven't set. And this is what we need to be doing with everything in our life when it comes to success in business and even building an online tribe. We need to know who we actually want in our tribe. And it's not just a case of we want people who can buy from us. We need to understand at a bit of a deeper level, who is that person. So I'm going to put a slide up here, and I'll ask you all just to make notes before we move on. These are things we need to figure out when it comes to building a physical avatar. And what I would do is build a handful of them. Build 3 or 4 and name them John, Susan, Dave, Julie, whoever that is, and build a physical avatar. Their age between, what's that 10-year age range? Whereabouts are they? Are they in the UK? Are they in Manchester? Are they in the northeast? Are they in the southeast? Are they in central London? What life stage are they at? Are they married? Do they have kids? Are they single? Are they, buying their first house? And motivations? What gets this person out of bed in the morning? The reason being, you might be asking, well, why do I need to know that when it comes to knowing who's in my tribe? It's because people want to buy from people similar to them. People buy from people they like. And people always naturally gravitate to people similar to themselves. So if they've got similar motivations to you, they're hardworking, they're driven, they want to get out of bed because they want to be a thought leader in some space, great, write that down. What are the current pains and what will this person find valuable? So what are the current pains? What could you solve for them by getting them to be part of your tribe? Can you solve a pain for them in a piece of content that you write? How this then comes down to how can we add value to our tribe? And I'm going to touch on this, yes, at the end of today's session. So what will this person find valuable? Now, when it comes to person finding something valuable, it's a case of how do they consume media, or how will they find the thing that you're going to give them, the value you're going to give them? How would they prefer to have it? Would they value your time, or would they value a video that you've made, or would they value an article that you've written? So we're going to touch on that. If anyone does have any questions around targeting and finding the right people in our tribe, again, do for free, put it in the chat, or of course I am on LinkedIn. Just search Matt Simmons, or my username is the Matt Simmons on LinkedIn, and you can find me and feel free to ask me any questions on there. I'm going to run past other networks, so I want to get onto brand and building your online brand and how we can actually attract people to our network. But one thing I want to quickly touch on here is around WhatsApp, and it's the fact of the matter is, I would ask you a question: who do you message regularly on WhatsApp? You'll be part of a couple of group chats, but who do you message on WhatsApp? Chances are it's your friends, it's your family. These are people who are in your limbic system. Yeah, it's a good point about the informal buying unit that will exist in a... It's a good point about the informal... Yeah, it's a really good point, that, Una. So it's about informal buying unit that will exist even in smaller companies. Yeah, so it's not a case of just having a procurement department anymore. I actually want to touch on that real quick. So it's a really good point, that, Una. It's not just a case of you'll have to go to large organisations, they'll have a procurement department. Or a lot of smaller companies that have a younger workforce, they will simply put something out to people in the team, in the group, thinking of buying this, what's your opinions? So if you can build a brand and you can network into an organisation, the more people in that team who have heard of you, and as long as you're putting positive content out there, you're adding value, they're going to come back with a positive response, as opposed to, I'm not too sure about that, I'll have to do more research. So it's really, really important. It's a really, really good point, that, Una. All right, so defining your brand. Let's quickly, there we go. Yeah, so defining your brand. And I'm going to run past this, but I want you to have a quick think of what even is a brand. And we talk quite a lot at length at Geek about how important it is to have a strong brand. I think it's safe to say we wouldn't have had the success that we've had, and we wouldn't have the companies coming to us inquiring about sales training or our part-time sales director service, for example, if we didn't have the strong brand that we have today. And when it comes to personal brand, I'm going to run through a couple of personal brand examples, but just as a quick note, when we're talking about brand, how we define it at Geek is it's your core set of values and beliefs. It's your reason for being. It's your why statement. What do you stand by? What do you really feel positively about? What is getting you out of bed? What's your motivations? That realistically is all your brand. It's your values. It's not just a colourful logo and a Pantone swatch. It's so much more than that. And providing your core beliefs, your values, and the business are aligned, you're going to have an amazing product to go to market with. And when we talk about building a personal brand, I'm just going to run through a couple here. Now, this is Michelle Obama, and arguably very famous for being obviously the first female black First Lady of America. However, she's arguably gone on to build so much more of a personal brand since then. She does obviously she wrote her memoirs and her books. She has she does a lot of work now with charities, working with a lot of inner city school children around their fitness and nutrition. And she's probably arguably gone on to be even much more famous and much more of a successful person. She hasn't just been tied back to being that one thing, where obviously she was the female first lady, first black female first lady of America. Then we've got Tony Robbins. I'll be hard pressed to find anyone in the chat who hasn't heard of Tony Robbins. Absolute force of nature when it comes to motivational and self-development. But again, Tony Robbins has an amazingly strong personal brand. And when we're looking at personal brand, and we're looking at brand from the aspect of we're looking at it from the aspect of core values, core beliefs. If you know and you've consumed enough of Tony Robbins' content, you feel like you personally know him to some level. To the fact that you feel like you could actually have a good idea of what his core values and beliefs are. Also, it's the fact that he talks about them a lot, and that's something we should be doing as well, because we want to attract the right sort of people to us. The flip side is if someone doesn't like what we're posting and what we're saying and what our values are, then great. We don't ever want to attract the wrong people to our crowd, to our tribe, sorry. It's all about finding the right people, and if we build a big enough, the old phrase of build it and they will come, if we build a big enough ship for our brand, people will happily come to it and get on board. So Una, yeah, awesome book. There's some documentaries on Netflix, yeah. So for Michelle Obama, just check her out on Netflix, some amazing stuff there. Right, Jeremy Clarkson, and there's a handful of people in the chat right now who are probably going to be typing furiously because they don't like him. And there'll be some people who are going, yay, Jeremy Clarkson, absolute cracking lad. Now, this is an example here to show you that you don't just have to have a very positive, woman-friendly personal brand. Jeremy Clarkson is very polarizing, but he knows what he stands for. He has a clear brand. And he is a perfect example of, again, build it and they will come. There's only certain people who like Jeremy Clarkson, but again, he doesn't try to appeal to everybody. He knows what he's about, he knows what he likes, and you know what? If you don't like him, that's fine. He doesn't care. And that's the approach we need to have when it comes to building that personal brand. Tiger Woods. So there'll be quite a few people in here familiar, obviously, with Tiger Woods and the scandal a number of years ago, but he's arguably moved on from his scandal and his sort of infidelity, and he's moved on from that to become another force back in golf. And this is just to show you that, the reason I'm bringing him up is just to show you that no matter what happens, if you have, again, your strong personal brand, you're cracking on with things, you're focusing on what your core values and beliefs are, you can get through anything. And arguably he's gone on to be, if not the same, just as successful, if not more, than he was a number of, a few decades ago. Well, two decades ago. Finally, Tom Hanks. Just put this one in here. It's because, as Richard has said to me a handful of times, if trust was a face, it would be Tom Hanks. And I just very much like that quote. But again, Tom Hanks has an amazing reputation in Hollywood. He's done a lot of work, not just in his film career, but he's done a lot of charity work and other things as well. And again, it's just the fact that people feel that they know Tom Hanks because he's so consistent with every single public appearance that he's doing. So again, people feel that they know what he stands for, and it then attracts people to his brand. But again, he's attracting the right sort of people to his brand. So I'm going to quickly run on the 5-step brand build here, and then I'm going to drop back to the chat, and if anyone has any questions for me. So, 5-step brand build. This is what you need to be doing if you want to build your personal brand. We need to define our goals, and this comes back to when I'm talking about building a personal brand and having an end goal in mind. This is the whole Zig Ziglar quote of you can't. It's better to be a meaningful specific than a wandering generality. You cannot get mad, if you don't hit a target that you haven't set. So what do you want out of building your personal brand? Then it's to find out what people think of you, because turns out you already have a personal brand. And I'm going to leave you with an activity on this point. Message 5 people that you know well and that you think feel as a part of your tribe. And you also ask them to be brutally honest with you. And then ask them to describe you using 3 words. Do they think you're honest, hardworking, loyal? Do they think you're tardy? Do they think you're aggressive? Whatever it is, ask them to be brutally honest with you. And if you're going to take one thing away from today, make sure you do this after today's session, because you already have a personal brand, but you need to know where you're starting from, so you can then start working towards your end goal, whether that is to speak internationally like myself, or whether it is to generate 5 referrals a month from your networks or from your tribe, whatever it is, but you need to know where you're starting from. Then we need to develop a brand pitch, and we'll touch on brand pitch, and I'll give you a takeaway that you can use to build your brand pitch. This is your message to the world. This is you summed up in 60 seconds, but in a personalized way that is very true to you as a person. It's not some corporate, bland, vanilla speech. This is very much you. Then it's just to be consistent. So, like for example, we'll talk about Tom Hanks before. Tom Hanks is very, very consistent in every single public appearance that he has done. And to be fair, every single person I've gone through previously on those slides, they're all being consistent in who they are as a person. So this is why they've built some amazing followings over the years. Now, obviously, yes, they are celebrities and they do get a lot more exposure, but they are consistent in what they're doing. It's the same with any sort of either YouTube celebrity or anything like that. They didn't just magically get to 1 million subscribers overnight. They've been doing it for years and years and years to get the success. It's the old adage where people only see the results of your hard work. They don't see the years of you toiling and sweating, your sweat, blood and tears, to actually get to that level in your chosen industry or career. Yeah, Una, loving Tom Hanks. Yeah, same. Again, I just love that. If trust was a face, it would be Tom Hanks. And allow your brand to adapt and change. So when it comes to building your personal tribe and your brand online, if you find yourself interested in something that's a bit out there, a bit different, share it with the world. Don't ever be shy about this thing. If you found that you've started to play piano or you want to learn how to play piano, don't just not mention it to people. Put it out there. You know, show people you learning. It's an amazing piece of content because people like to see the journey of something. Again, it's the problem with I think Michael Jordan said this, where Michael Jordan's biggest failing was making it look too easy. And Michael Jordan's probably arguably one of the best basketball players of all time. He talks about how he made his success in basketball look too easy because people didn't see him at the end of every training session shooting 100 3-pointers before he was allowed to go home. So again, share your journey with the world. And again, the people who you want in your tribe, those people who will buy into you as a person and then either influence or buy from you, they will naturally be drawn to you. So this is just a quick run through on the 5-step brand build, and then I'm just going to run through how we can provide a value to our tribe. So I'm just going to ask you take a screenshot, run through this. Your brand pitch should be bold, relevant, authentic, notable and easy to understand, and also differentiated. So by bold, it should be big. It should be you as a person blown up, you know, to the extreme. What do you actually really want to achieve? Then it's relevant, so it's got to actually relate to actually what you do. So let's take, for example, Santa Claus. Everyone knows who Santa Claus is, and there's 2 ways of going around Santa Claus's brand pitch. One would be Santa Claus is the CEO of a supply chain organization that is responsible for sending and dropping off gifts to children around the world. He works throughout the year to deliver all of his products in one evening. How boring is that? Yeah, very boring because it's very corporate, it's very bland, very vanilla. However, if we were to switch it up and put a bit of character, a bit of us into that brand pitch, we can make it so much more engaging. So Close is the grandfatherly figure of the world's largest gift-giving operation in the world. Using his inventive chimney delivery system and reindeer-powered transportation, Close is able to spread joy and happiness to children across the world. Now that is instantly a lot more engaging. It's different, but so as we're saying there, different is better than better. We'll talk about how we're different, not just how we're the best, because again, people like things that are different, things that stand out. So I want to quickly move on because there's a lot more to get through before the end of today's session. So yeah, create just an activity there, create a brand pitch. So using the slides, again, if anyone needs those 5 bits from a brand pitch of how to build one, drop me a message on LinkedIn, or again, just put it in the chat and I can with your email, and I'll make sure I send it over to you. So building relationships and giving value. This is arguably the most important part of building our online tribe. And it's all around width versus depth. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times on today's session, and it's the fact of the matter is, you don't need to know 1,000 people to have a strong and successful tribe. You could know 7 or 8 people, or maybe even 10, and arguably have a much stronger tribe that can help you grow your business or your pipeline much more effectively than just knowing 1,000 people, but again, you don't have any strong relationship with them. So I'm going to take you through the whole aspect of looking out for your tribe, and this is one of the key ways of building deep relationships. And for anyone who doesn't know, on screen, that's Alex Ferguson, arguably the most successful manager in English football history. And there's an amazing story when it comes to looking out for your tribe that I think is really important. I want to leave you with today. So Cristiano Ronaldo was obviously an up-and-coming footballer and was obviously making a lot of waves and getting a lot of recognition for the skills and the football he's playing. And the story goes that Alex Ferguson wanted to hire Cristiano Ronaldo. And Cristiano Ronaldo, although being approached by the manager from Man United, said that no, Real Madrid is where I want to go. I've always wanted to play for Real Madrid ever since I started playing football. It's my dream to go to Real Madrid. And Alex Ferguson openly and honestly said, come play for me, I will train you up to be the best, and when Real Madrid come asking for you, I will happily send you on your way and give you the best recommendation I can. So, Cristiano Ronaldo took Alex Ferguson at his word, went to play for Man United, played some amazing football and won a lot of championships. And then when Real Madrid came asking for him, he stood by his word and sent Cristiano Ronaldo on his way. And Cristiano Ronaldo often credits Alex Ferguson as being the most influential manager in his history, and arguably the most influential person in his entire life. And that's because he stood by what he said. And this is what we need to be doing when it comes to our tribe as well. And if you are watching this and you are running an organisation, you're running a business, I think there's a lot to be learned from Alex Ferguson. Because Alex Ferguson wouldn't just spend time with the people who were the directors of the board and the players. It's often spoke of that he would know the names of every single groundskeeper, janitor, people working the concession stand. And that's because he knew the value of looking out for his tribe. And it wasn't just a case of he would look out for the players, he would look out for every single person in his tribe. And that's arguably why, under his tenure, Man United became the most successful football club in Premier League history. He did a lot of mindset work with his team too, I believe. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, Luna. It's a case of the people in his tribe were all aligned on those same goals. It's very similar with the All Blacks. Every single person who's part of the All Black team, and I don't just mean just the players, everyone off the pitch as well, they are focused on this one goal, building this amazing legacy in the sporting industry. And if you don't have a brand goal or a larger North Star goal for your team to work towards, I would seriously take out some time and make one. Because when everyone are all pulling in the same direction, amazing things can happen. So, just before we finished, Ferg got 94 million euros for him too. Yes, apparently, I believe the story goes, John, that when Real Madrid came knocking for him, he didn't actually take the first offer to Ronaldo. He went back and got him more money, I believe the story is. So again, that's showing that he's looking out for his tribe. And obviously the benefit there being he's taken Ronaldo on, he's looked after him, and then at the end of it, he's actually ended up reaping even more rewards for it as well. So it's really important that we look after people in our tribe. We do the very best we can for them. The reason being, it's the law of reciprocity. Personally, I think this is arguably the reason why I've had so much success in business and sales. It's when you give someone value, they'll want to give something back. All of my largest deals in my career have come off the back of the law of reciprocity. I haven't gone in wanting to sell a solution. I've gone in wanting to understand people's problems and help them. And this is the same thing with our tribe. Just because someone comes to us, for example, and they aren't a potential client right now, we can if we think that their business or someone in their business could be a client, we should want to bring them into our tribe again. Who are the 3 types of people we want in our tribe? Yes, the supporters. It's the people who influence those who buy from us and those who buy from us. So even though someone can come to us and want to be part of our tribe and have a conversation with us, sure, we might not be able to sell to them right now, but if we can give them enough value, help them out, bring them into our tribe, they will of course want to give something back, and that could be in the form of actually buying a product from us, or it could be introducing you to someone in the organisation further up the chain. So I'm going to leave you today with a quick note on how we can give value. And there's a number of different ways that we can give value to our tribe. It could be in the form of cheat sheets. So, for example, here at Sales Geek, top 5 ways that you can open up a cold call. We can give that to a lot of our clients because it's a very easy way of giving some value to our tribe, to people we want to either build relationships with or build stronger relationships with. Articles. If you've had a conversation with someone and you've come across something that would be of interest to them, send it to them. Again, you're giving them information. Connections, so actually introducing them to other people. This is an amazing way of giving value to your tribe, and it really, really taps into the law of reciprocity. Because if I've given you a referral, the law of reciprocity states you'll want to give something back to me of equal value. And the easiest way you'll know how to do that is to try and work and get me a referral as well. I've not put it on here, but let's have a conversation on any others. For me, time. Time is a massive thing, and it's incredibly valuable. The reason being is I have 24 hours, you have 24 hours. Bill Gates also has 24 hours. And it's all around how do we use our time effectively. And by giving someone half an hour or even an hour of your time is an incredibly valuable thing that, of course, when it comes to asking for things back or wanting to perhaps build that relationship even further and ask for a referral, if you've given them something of value, they'll want to give something back. So I'm just going to leave you today with this final slide around giving value. And the best thing we can do, and I'll just leave a slide up for 2 minutes, is we need to figure out how many ways we can add value to our tribe, and then we need to do them. The thing that I don't want after today's session is for you to sit here, get involved in the chat, and quite frankly, loving everyone in the chat. Keep posting any questions that you have and I'll jump on them. But I would hate for you to leave today's session, think, that's really good, I need to do some of that, and then not do any of it. So book out some time in your diary to follow up on what I've given today with a bit of feedback. So who do we want in our tribe? Build a bit of a personal avatar, physical avatar that we need. Have a think, who in our tribe currently are one of those 3 people? Who's a supporter? Who's an influencer? And who's someone who can actually buy from us? And then finally figure out how we can add value to them. How can we help them out? Is it giving them our time? Is it giving them a referral? Or is it just sending them some information? So that is all from me today, guys. If I'm going to hang on for a couple of minutes, but again, if you have any questions around what I've spoken about today, again, throw it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any more questions you've got. Just to update you as well on what we're working on here at Geek. This amazing thing here at the bottom. Sales Geek Academy. So this, what I've gone through today is a very small excerpt from one of our courses on the Academy. This is where we are uploading and working on, releasing a course every single week, all around every single aspect of sales training. So if you've liked what you've heard today, and you want to hear more of it on various different aspects of prospecting, cold calling, how to actually qualify clients, build a proper sales pipeline, sales process, how to negotiate large-scale deals, literally every single part of the sales process, social selling, using video or using Zoom to sell online, anything you can imagine. We will be releasing modules and courses every single week on the Sales Geek Academy. I'm just going to put, so actually on the web page that you're on right now, if you scroll to the top and click on online learning, that'll take you through to our Sales Geek Academy. And again, use code funded400 for the rest of September. You get £400 off part funded place, and then after September, that code won't be valid anymore. So I hope you found that useful, guys. If you do have any questions, I'll hang around for another minute. But if you have any questions on how to build an online tribe and start getting those referrals into your business, just use the chat function and let me know. Right, well, with that in mind, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you very much for coming on. Anita, yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you found it useful. And as always, my details will be sent round from Debbie at the Chamber. So if you do have any questions for me, do feel free to get in touch. But with that in mind, thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you all very soon.
Thanks for watching this ChamberLIVE video from the East Lancashire Chamber of Commerce. If you've enjoyed this content, then you might enjoy some of the other content that's on the screen now. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.